What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. It's Sunday morning. We got a different crew today. We got AP. We have G Rising. I'm subbing in for Hoop. AP is subbing in for D-Rock. AP, we'll go to you first. That means we get the nips and tats, right? We're going to get a little show here?
Yeah, there's no tats, and my nips are not coming out. So sorry, hate to let you guys all down, you guys and gals, but my shirt is staying on today. And yeah, moving forward, so we're having a rotation change. We're actually going to have JT Hayes will be on here next Sunday. So it'll be a nice bump up from me subbing in. We'll get the GOAT JT Hayes on here. But I'm excited for this slate, and I'm really excited because I already got NBA dialed in. I feel very good about my NBA build today. Core play's already up. Playbook's already up. MLB playbook will be up here soon, and it's going to be a fun Sunday.
Yep. Before we go to G Rising over there, we got the White Sox lineup out. So we got to halt everything because they're the GOATs playing against the lefty. Timmy Anderson, Madrigal, Moncada, Abreu, Mercedes, Vaughn, Garcia, Collins, and then Hamilton. That is the lineup for the White Sox. We'll go over to G Rising. His birthday was the other day. He said he was going to be drinking a ton of beers. The Modelos were flowing. We got to find out before we dive into everything. We got to find out how many beers did you have on the birthday, G Rising?
Actually, since it was being talked about on the show there, I kind of started to keep count, and the final tally actually was 16.
Oh, the under hit on the 17 and a half?
Yeah, actually. So I had to take a little break. I had to go out to dinner with some people. So I had to take a little break. And then when I came back, I think I pounded maybe 6 or 7 more. And then
G Rising, are you like pissing every 30 minutes when you're drinking 16 beers like that? That's why I can't do the beers that heavy. Like, you're always having to piss, man. It's just ridiculous.
Not as much as most people would, but yeah, I mean, I piss, but when I piss, I stand there. Usually there's 2 or 3 people. If I'm at a public place, there's 2 or 3 people that come up to the urinal and come and go. I still stand there and pee for 5 minutes, it seems like, but
G Rising's got that elite bladder.
Yeah,
that's how you do it if you're a drinker.
I got a pretty good sized bladder. Yeah. But my downfall is when I start doing shots. If I do a couple shots, forget it, man. Then it's like it's usually trouble for me. If I start mixing up the liquor, and I'm never one to turn one down either. But yeah, those are usually my downfall.
Yeah, we Hoop lost basically everything. He said put everything on the 17 and a half. So if that book was open, it would not be going well for Hoop right now. But I'm surprised too. I thought I would hit the over on the 17 and a half as well. But we got the Modelos flowing today. You also did hit on the birthday home run, right? You got the Nolan Arenado there. So hopefully we'll have a nice little home run call from you. You've been on fire with that. And we've really been on fire over at Run Pure Sports. Use that code RPS Heater 25 to get 25% off. You don't only get baseball content. You get the basketball content. AP, he has all his winners. He already has his core plays up. With the cash chart for me, you get NASCAR from Coop today. Mikey, I'm sure we'll be putting some core plays in there as well. The NASCAR is one of those long races tonight. It's the Coca-Cola 500, 600, one of those. It's really long, but it's always a fun night race. So be sure to check that out. And on the bet side, we got, the Keg. He'll be live talking on the Run Pure Bets channel, giving out some free winners for that on the bet side. So we got everything that you want over here at Run Pure Sports. Again, use that code RPS Heater 25. Before we dive in, AP, you were saying that this slate is a nice little easy slate. You feel like you have it mapped out pretty well. So give us your quick slate overview before we dive into the games.
I mean, anytime I say a slate's easy, it never pans out like that. So I got to caution you there. Every time I'm like, oh man, I got this figured out. We're going to smash today. It's going to be easy. The DFS gods, just throw it at you, throw you a curveball, and it is what it is. But yeah, as you mentioned, we could have weather in one of the games where I thought, Max was an absolute lock. I thought you could have made a really strong case for Woodruff too. And, but we'll have to keep an eye on the weather there. I haven't looked at the weather too closely. It looks like it could play. I think the issue is if they get a long delay, that would obviously affect pitching. But we also have Giolito on the slate too. So another pitcher I really like. And then when it comes to these bats, I don't know. I mean, I see a bunch of cheap ones I like to make it easy to spend up, and it won't, we'll still be able to get our power. So I do think it's a nice slate. I know where I'm going. I just hope weather doesn't ruin it.
Yep. Gary says weather will be fine in Washington, AP. Gary, I don't know if you're boots on the ground or something. I don't know if you became a weatherman in your time here. I'm not sure, but Gary feels good about it. I do also want to say, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Listen, we have 161 watching, and I know the 161 that are watching on a Sunday morning on Memorial Day weekend. I know that's the loyal and faithful, right? That's not just a bunch of random people in there. So we got to get those likes up. We appreciate that a ton, though. But let's dive in and let's talk about this slate, and let's go over to the pitching. And at the top, we got Max Scherzer, and I want that weather to be okay in those cash games. On the cash chart, I want to make sure Max Scherzer is nice and green, right? I want to make sure he is the guy that is a core play for me. G Ryzen, I know on FanDuel, you play that a ton, and it's easy to kind of get in those top arms. And I'm kind of like you. Even in tournaments, I like to make sure to get in that top arm if I can. Is this a day where we can get in the Max Scherzer or the Woodruff as the top arm, or are we a little too worried about the weather?
Yeah, Max is definitely one of the top arms today. I am a little bit worried about that weather, just because they're saying it's supposed to be scattered showers and could go off and on. That's the part that gets me. If they just say it was going to be rain and then they were going to delay it for a little bit, I wouldn't be as worried. But Max does have a great matchup. You can't argue that. I mean, Milwaukee's does K a lot. Perfect kind of guy that I like to play, like you mentioned. I got to go after the guys that have high Ks. I mean, on a one pitcher site, pretty much with as much value bats as you can find, you got to have that pitcher. And, when there's 2 or 3, 4 pitchers that I think can get over 50, 60 points, it's hard to fade those guys at that point. But if there's only one and you don't like the matchup, that's where I feel sometimes you can pay down. Today may work out like that if we do lose that Washington game, but that's going to be pretty risky. But yeah, if Max and Woodruff are off, I'm probably going to go look at Giolito, but against Baltimore. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this game with the weather. We'll have to keep our ear to the ground. We got a couple hours to go, but over the years, Washington's been one of them funny teams that you never really wanted to play games with any kind of rain, because they'll pull the plug really quick. So
yeah. Well, the one thing too is like they also, with Max Scherzer, sometimes they pull the plug early because they want to use him the next start and they don't want to mess around too much. Like they don't just put in a different guy and then save him for the next day. Like they'll just call the game like completely ahead of time, because the way it works in the MLB is the teams can make the decision of the game being like canceled if they want. Like Washington can make that decision if it's in Washington. So they are the ones that make the call. But what happens is once the game starts, it's all in the umpire's hands. Washington has no more say in what's going to happen. So that's something we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't be shocked if literally 5 minutes before the game, they were just like, hey, like, we're not even going to play this game. Let's PPD it. And even if the weather doesn't look that bad. So really be watching to see what happens. And hey, let's say he does get scratched out of nowhere. There'll be dead lineups everywhere, which is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, I had a pretty good day this year, and that was part of it. Like one of the pitchers got scratched right before the game, and there was like 30% of lineups that are absolutely dead, and that's always good for us. So stay in the Discord chat. We'll update you if any of that kind of stuff goes down. AP, I'll go to you. It seems like you are on Max too, but give us your breakdown on how you're handling Max and how you're handling these other pitchers at the top.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on 3 pitchers right now. And, as I said to begin with, weather could have an impact. But, Gary thinks it's fine. I'm not a weather expert or anything like that. But I do know that these weather guys tend to be more cautious than not. So I don't mind taking some risks there at all. And it's just, I'm going to be by my computer. Hopefully we get any news that comes in before the game locks up. But it's a risk I'm willing to take with a guy like this Brewers lineup. They got five guys who strike out at almost a 30% or more rate. And then you throw Max in there, who's throwing at a 35% K rate on the year. He's not walking batters. I mean, this guy is just an absolute stud and could put up a monster number. And you could, I wouldn't do this now with the weather. Like, you want to mitigate your risk a little bit. If there wasn't weather issues, I was going to say you could pair him with Woodruff and get a little different in your tournaments. But I do think I want to go to Giolito. I think he's got a phenomenal matchup. This Orioles lineup has at times shown some life. Like Freddie Galvis hit 2 bombs yesterday. Maikel Franco hit a bomb yesterday. But Giolito is going to mow them down. They're another lineup, too, that strikes out a ton. They got this whole bottom half of this lineup is just terrible. So I think he's going to have a big game. Those are the 3 guys that I feel very good about. and then it drops off pretty quickly for me. So you guys are going to need to really sell me on some of these cheap guys, because I don't. We have enough value, in bats. Like, there's just so many guys out there, in my opinion, that are cheap that we can get to make spending up at pitching work. And that's, I kind of follow Big T and JSU and those guys. K Fallick, it's something they've been talking about all season. And that's what I've been doing, and it's worked out. So that's kind of where I'm at pitching wise. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do if this game becomes riskier, though.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something that we'll have to discuss. One thing too, you mentioned, like, you can give up, you can give up home runs here and there. Like if the Orioles, let's say Freddie Galvis does hit a bomb, right? It's okay if it's a solo shot, right? Or even like a two-run. It's not the end of the world. It's those guys that have extreme walk problems. Now, Giolito does walk in at 8.6%, so it is a bit risky. But on the flip side, a lot of Orioles bats don't walk a ton. They have some really, really low walk rates. If you look at the whole lineup, right? 7%, 5%, 6%. The only one who really walks a ton is DJ Stewart. So that's something that plays in your favor. And that's something that I always look at when looking to roster my pitchers. I think Giolito will be fine. Even if he gives up one home run, it's no big deal, but we do have to obviously monitor the weather. We also we would love Eduardo Rodriguez in this spot, right? It would be a really good spot against Miami, but my issue is that game is likely off the slate. G Ryzen, that game is off the slate for me. I'm not even considering it. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not considering it either. You look at the weather, it's supposed to rain pretty much, and the rain's supposed to get heavier as the day goes on. So, a lot of times I'm not generally worried about rain on Sunday because you got all day for them to sit and, sit it out. And, generally they don't have to leave or they're traveling close. So it's not generally much of a burden for them to wait out a game. But the rain just looks like it's going to be consistent all day. So I don't think that one will go. But, you guys mentioned some of these other pitchers. I mean, for me, Giolito at this point is the guy I'm probably going to go 100% on my 5 teams today. You can look at Blake Snell, who's another high upside K guy, but Houston, I just don't like to play pitchers against Houston at all. Their K rate is unbelievably low as a team. So that's just not a place I usually like to go. And, you look at some of these other arms, I'm just really not interested. There's not really anything that jumps out. I'm not going to go to a Arrieta or Alcantara. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So at this point, Giolito is going to be my 100% all-in pitcher at this point, unless I feel as if Max is good to go. I don't mind the risk either. Like AP said, those weather guys are generally pretty, they're not going to, they don't like to generally lean one way or another. They kind of leave the door open. They're pretty cautious, but that Milwaukee matchup is pretty interesting. And if we can get Max at a low ownership, great. Cause if that weather was there, I think Max would be over 50% owned if that weather was nice. So if I can get him at 20 or 30, that's a half off price to me. So it's worth the risk.
Well, here's the thing, G Ryzen. There are people playing DK, right? So I agree on FanDuel. I think you have a great approach, and I love the approach that you're going with, and I think it's good. Let's say Max is off the slate. Like, I think if Max is on the slate, I would love the idea to go Max and Giolito. Let's say he's off the slate. Like, who would you actually go here? I mean, so Snell, obviously against Houston, you don't love that. You got Greinke against San Diego, which is not the greatest. Arrieta could be a magician against Cincinnati, but I don't want to try and do that. I don't mind Mlb at the 7-9 tag against the Cubs, but you could just make a case, why pay 7-9? Just go cheaper and take a shot on one of these other pitchers. Again, I know these guys are not great, but Stripling against Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland's better against lefties than righties. Shoemaker against Kansas City, Keller against Minnesota. I know these are not great arms, but the idea is you could just go all the way to the basement maybe with like a 5K pitcher and then just get other bats in your lineup. The problem is this isn't a day that I love the bats, and kind of something that AP talked about. You just don't always need to spend on bats. So what would you do with that SP2 though if you couldn't go a Max or a Woodruff?
Yeah, the SP2, I mean, Kyle Freeland's a guy, I mean, against a weak Pittsburgh that I might look at. A guy like Michael King, he's just not going to get, you're not going to get too much out of him against Detroit. Tarek Skubal does have some high K upside. I mean, that would be a hell of a play there against the Yankees. Skubal could get you 8-9 Ks and give up a couple bombs. That could be a guy that you might want to take a chance on if you're looking for some Ks. I don't mind Molly. That'd probably be the guy that's going to be the chalk, I would assume, over there on DK.
Yep. By the way, 60 degrees and wind blowing in 8 miles an hour. So I think that also plays a little favor into him as well.
Yeah, I would assume he's probably going to be the guy that most people will go to. But like I said, I wouldn't be afraid of Freeland against Pittsburgh, and I wouldn't be afraid of Skubal if you wanted to be a little bit different and contrarian. Nobody's going to go there. There's going to be a lot of Yankee bats. So if you don't have Yankee bats and you're not really, in love with those Yankees, Skubal started out really rough at the beginning of the year. He had a really rough April. His last few starts have been a lot better. He's had some decent K numbers. So I think he has the highest upside, but man, that could flip on you really quick and just burn up. I mean, that could flip bad really fast. But hey, I mean, he's definitely got the potential.
Yeah, well, the one thing I will say sometimes with the Yankees, or is it the Yankees that are playing? I'm blanking here on it. Where is he? I'm probably
they're playing.
He's playing the Yankees still. Okay, I thought the series changed and I was wrong. The thing about the Yankees lineup that I like to mention a lot is they can get a ton of home runs with the best of them. Like if it's a home run derby, they're one of the best, but they can swing and miss with the best of them too, right? So there is upside at times when you can have a high K pitcher. You just got to understand there's risk going into it, and if he's going to be like 2%. You could take a shot on it. I mean, listen, it's better than playing Mlb in a tournament, right? Because he's just going to be so chalky. It seems like if the weather doesn't go your way, it just depends on where the weather goes. AP, you say you need some help. We talked about some of these guys. I think G Risen brought up some good points about Freeland. Again, these are not the greatest pitchers. Like there are some slates where bad pitchers are just chalkier options. There are some slates where bad pitchers, we just got to dig through the mud and figure it out. So if we do not have Scherzer as another option, what do you think of these cheaper guys?
Yeah, I mean, it gets so tough. I mean, Freeland, yeah, maybe just it's a bet on the matchup. Obviously, I get that. I think what I would do, and let me preface this with saying, if like weather becomes a big issue in the Washington game, I honestly don't think it's going to be that bad. And so I will probably be on Max. But let's just say it is really bad and we have to move off of it. I might bet on the talent of a Blake Snell. Tough matchup, but I don't know. I just would rather bet on a guy like that and a tough matchup over some of these cheap, shitty guys, if that makes sense.
AP, one thing playing in Snell's favor that I think is pretty important is they got a humidor, I think, there in Houston now. Like there's like 10 parks that have it. I believe I wrote it down because JT did one of his bang bang plays and he talked about all the humidor parks, and I think Houston was on that list. Yeah. So it was St. Louis, Houston, Miami, Toronto, Texas, Colorado, New York, Arizona, Boston, Seattle. And the Toronto one was like the Toronto one at home, not where they're playing now. So that's for like next year, I guess. But that is that is basically where we got those humidors. So that helps a little bit, at least the rest of the ball. Obviously, G Rising talked about the strikeouts. They don't strike out as much, but hey, a guy like Snell, he can obviously get these strikeouts there at times, and he can catch that ceiling. Just depends on the day and the likelihood of the outcome. G Rising, anything else there that helped you out with to get behind any other cheap pitching options?
It's tough. It's tough. Like when you get to the bottom there, you got a couple guys that are just going to be, 3-4 innings type starters. So, if I had to compare Skubal and, a guy like Snell or Molly, I think I would truthfully go Skubal just because, especially in tournaments, if you're playing cash, I would tend to lean, the other guys that are safer. But, if I had to go on the cheap end, I'd probably go with the upside of Skubal and to be different. But in cash games, with the two, if that Milwaukee game in Washington, if that's okay, then obviously there's only three guys in play: Scherzer, Giolito, and Woodruff. And I probably would have Max and then probably have Giolito and then build my teams around that on DK. If there isn't that game, then I would probably look down there. But hopefully that game stays dry for us.
Yep. We'll obviously be monitoring that in the Discord chat. Again, if you want to get in the Discord chat, it's part of our premium product. Use that code RPSHeater25 to get 25% off and get in on that. Also, we got 300 watching. We got 92 likes, I believe. There could be more. I might have to refresh it and then find out. Let's refresh it here and see if we got more likes on the stream. Yeah, we got 92. So we got to get those up, guys. Again, helps us out a ton. And we want to do our best to help you out and give you the best free content we can in the industry. Let's head on over though
What's
and
the
talk.
deal, man? What did you get grounded or something? You in your room? You locked in your room, or what's the deal over there?
I'm actually I'm down at the beach with the family, so yeah, I do look like I'm in that setting. We got the closet there next door. We got the door out. I actually have the computer on the bed, so not the most ideal setup right now, but
Nice.
we'll get it done.
You down there at the beach? What beach are you down there at?
The Jersey Shore, not where like Snooki and all them were at. No, I'm in LBI. You guys probably don't know, but if anyone's in Jersey watching, I'm in the LBI area, Beach Haven.
You know what? For some reason, I was just thinking the hot dog eating contest was this weekend, but that's 4th of July. I was thinking I was going to ask you if that's what you were going to go to. I'd always that looks like a good time. That looks like a fun party to go to.
I've never been. It's not. I mean, I could go to it if I wanted to. I've never been, but it does look like a good time. Always on TV. You're right about that. We need Holden to do a hot dog eating contest. That would be something to watch.
No, we need to have Holden in the front row watching Joey Chestnut eat all those hot dogs. That probably would be even worse.
Yeah.
We got to get Holden on the hot dog contest and JSU pizza eating contest.
JSU doesn't like pizza?
He hates pizza. Yeah.
He hates pizza.
The hell?
I don't know how. It's crazy. Actually, my daughter doesn't like pizza either. And I told her she's crazy the other day. I don't see how you don't like pizza. It's
well, give your daughter time, right? Like taste buds change, right? Like, I mean, JSU's his aren't changing, right? He is like always pizza sucks, which is just, that's a terrible take. I mean, it's just not good. So, but yeah, no, people are saying it's a rainy weekend, but hey, listen, we had some drinks. We had a good time yesterday. You don't have to be at the beach. You just hang out with people and have fun. So good weekend and good time to watch basketball too. So the games were the best yesterday. I'm expecting a little bounce back on the basketball games today. Hopefully we can get that. And we got 15 baseball games. So tons of sports to watch. Should be a awesome way to end out the weekend and go into the holiday. But let's go in and talk about the catcher position, right? Because, hey, I see my boy Mercedes is getting expensive. Over on DK, he is 5.9K. Crazy price tag on him. There's Gary Sanchez against the lefty, right? He's another guy at 4.3 you can look at. Real Muto feels cheap at 4.1 over on DK. I'm curious on FanDuel. What are those catcher prices, G-Rise? And what do you do at catcher on FanDuel? Because I like playing the catchers. I think they go completely underowned, and it's some strategy that I've been employing. So I'm curious if you're kind of doing that as well.
Yeah, it depends on the day and the slate, who it is. But yeah, I don't mind playing a catcher. I truly am not scared. Yesterday, I had Voit for Arizona, and he was 1% owned, as I was telling you guys before the show started. So,
what was his price too? Because I'm sure it was dirt cheap, right?
It was 2,000. Yeah, he was min price. So,
which is nice. The reason I want to mention it, G-Rise, is on DK he's like 3.7, right? And you're getting him 2K on FanDuel, which again it gives you a discount on a player. So I think that's really sharp by you, and it was a 1% home run that that gives you a nice little advantage over the field.
Yeah, and the thing is. You're looking at a lineup and you think to yourself, as a lot of times, like you guys have heard on all our different shows across the platforms, like there's certain guys that were going to be pretty chalky. So, in a certain stack. So everybody was on St. Louis yesterday, and a lot of people were on that Arizona game just because it had such a high over under. But, nobody looks to them 7-hole, the 8-hole. So I was just thinking, okay, fine. Voit has a chance easily to hit a homer. He could even hit 2 for you. So I was hoping I'd get him at less than 10% when I saw him at, the 1 or 2% that I had him. I was ecstatic. He came through for me, worked out great. And I even had there was some bad pitching scores yesterday with Anderson and Urias. Both got shelled. I think neither one of them one had 18, one had 12 or something, but I still cashed on all three of my teams, so it was a good time. But I think today though Sanchez might be pretty chalky on FanDuel. He's only 2,100, generally smashes lefties. I think people are going to go there, so I don't think you're going to get or Mercedes. I think both of those two actually are going to get some ownership today.
Yeah, I mean, so he's 2.8K on FanDuel, so he'll definitely have some, right? But still, I don't know. We'll see what people end up doing. It always depends too, especially if we lose Max, right? Then it's easier to jam in some bats. So maybe some of those cheaper bats that they kind of can get overlooked sometimes. AP will go over and talk to you about DK here at the catcher position. Again, I think there's some guys that go to at the top, and it's a Sunday. I always mention on Sundays, this is when guys get some days off. So sometimes we get some catchers in there that are cheap and nice punt options. So what are you doing here at the catcher position right now?
Yeah, catcher is always going to be, kind of interesting, especially this year. It used to be a position where you could punt. Hasn't been the case. I've found myself often spending up at catcher. And it's going to be the same today. We got a lot of guys in good spots. We got Salvi hit a bomb yesterday. He absolutely owns Matt Shoemaker. He's going to own him again today. I could definitely see him going yard in this matchup. And then, we got the White Sox. They haven't been the best against left-handed pitching, but they got 3 guys in there that are absolute studs. Actually, 4 guys that are absolute studs against lefties. And one of them is your boy Yermin Mercedes. So those are my top 2 guys, and it's not close at all. And I'm probably going to keep my catcher pool really tight today. You could definitely make a case for JT Realmuto 4-1, but honestly, I like Salvi, and I like this White Sox guy. So I'm going to keep it real simple. Those are the guys that most likely either Salvi or Yermin, you're going to find them in my lineup for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, man. I was going to say
it could be a day to pay down. So far, I don't see a lot of pay down options and DK. Just stay tuned for the lineups, right? I think that could obviously some guy could pop up and that could change, and we'll obviously update the content if that is the case. G Ryzen, what were you going to say?
I was going to say AP nailed it too with Perez, with just absolutely smashing Shoemaker. That dude's 9 for 15 with 2 bombs on him. So obviously,
I mean, G Rising, they call Big T big platoon, right?
Yeah.
Just call me BVP. Let's go.
Call you BVP. Call you BAP.
BAP. There we go. I got my BVP sheet up.
Hey. Listen, I don't. A lot of people make fun of the BVP. I don't mind the BVP. I think it's something that it's another thing to add into the sample of things, and I like to look at pitch types, stuff like that. So I'm on board AP. Sometimes people say you have to be like all in or all out on it. Like I'm definitely more all in on it than out on it. I will say that. So I'm with you, AP.
Well, I don't mind when the numbers are that high though, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, and when their current metrics line up too, like Salvi is just, Salvi. I'm going to, add in the fact that he's crushed this guy. It's just, a nice little confidence boost for him. And the fact that he hit a bomb yesterday, he's doing it again today.
Yeah, I always like to look at hey, this guy's good against changeups, and Shoemaker throws a changeup, so it makes sense. You know what I mean? Now sometimes the pitchers can change, and so can hitters, but I think it adds up a ton. And typically when these guys get a lot of BVP against each other, it's because when they see each other a bunch, right? Because they're in the same, they see each other in a bunch of series over and over. So, but I like Perez here. I had him the other day. When he's a low-owned bomb, right? If you can get him low-owned AP, hey, that's a good guy that you want to have at some lower ownership at the catcher position. Let's move on though and talk about the first base position. We'll go over to you, G Ryzen, and I got to talk about Abreu, right? Against the lefty. AP mentioned it. The White Sox haven't been as great against the lefties this year, but one guy who can always hit a lefty, it does not matter, and I don't care. It's Jose Abreu. Great guy to spend up on. I think he's one of the better spend up options at the first base position. How about you?
Yeah, Abreu is definitely up at the top, but his teammate isn't too far behind him, Andrew Vaughn. He's another play that I really like. Carlos Santana I like today. But Miguel Sano is another guy that you can look at. But, Andrew Vaughn for me probably is going to be a guy that I'll probably have in my lineups today. But Abreu definitely is. I might have them both, actually. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to get a gauge on how chalky I think this White Sox team is going to be. If it's going to be too chalky, I might have to just play with the lineups and just see how it's going to work. Because if I play one of them high-priced pitchers, I can't have too many Abreu-type salaries on my team. So Vaughn fits right in really nice, 2,500. But I do like those two. And like I said, I like Santana.
Yeah, well, on DK, it's a little tougher, right? I mean, Abreu is 6.2K. Vaughn he's finally eclipsed the 3K price tag. Congrats, Andrew Vaughn. You are out of that range. He is 3.1. So you have that. You also got guys like Rhys Hoskins. I wouldn't sleep on him with the price tag he's at. Another Royal, Carlos Santana. If you want to attack Shoemaker at 4-1, I don't hate that. AP, I'll go over to you. How are you spending your salary at the first base position today?
Yeah, if price wasn't a factor, Abreu would definitely be up there. 6.2, that's tough. But the one thing I think it's going to keep his ownership down. I do think Andrew Vaughn is going to be the chalkier of the two. Both of their numbers look phenomenal against left-handed pitching. For me, it's going to come down to roster construction. If I can get two nice pitchers in there, since I do think it's a tough pitching slate, I will be fine with taking one of the two. But if I can get Abreu in there also, I'm going to absolutely love it. I think you made a good note about Hoskins. He's a guy that's I feel like he's kind of been streakier this year, and he's hitting the ball pretty nicely right now. So he's a guy that I could definitely get on. I'm trying to think the other spot I was looking at, the Twins bats. We got Krylov, we got Sano. Those guys are all going to make my list, and then Carlos Santana. So I do think first base is fairly loaded. There's a lot of options. And that's why I think Abreu is going to be pretty low owned at 6'2". I mean, Mangone, I'm not good at ownership, but you usually have a good read on that type of stuff. I mean, do you agree with that thought process? Do you think at 6'2", Abreu is going to be pretty low owned today?
I would say on DK for sure. FanDuel, I think people will just kind of be able to get him in very easily. But on DK specifically, 6'2" is an expensive price tag, right? And if you look, it depends what happens with Max too. Like, obviously, if we lose Max and Woodruff on this slate, well, we have more salary to spend. So I think a lot of that is tied together. And when that news is announced as well, I think that's going to play a really big part into it. So listen, Abreu's got a pretty expensive price tag, but I'm definitely down to maybe overspend on it. And you might see people do White Sox stacks and leave him off, right? It just wouldn't shock me. Obviously, you have to look at the full stack in general, right? Like if you do a White Sox stack today, right? And I go over to DK, just click on the White Sox and look at all the salaries. You know, Mercedes, good luck getting him and Abreu together, right? I mean, 5'9" for him. Grandal's also 5'8". You know, he's not on the slate, though. It's Zach Collins at 3'9", helps give you some salary relief. Madrigal is now 4'7", right? Moncada's at 6'2". Anderson 5'5". I mean, we have some expensive price tags on these guys. Now, a guy that'll probably be in every White Sox stack is Andrew Vaughn because he's just dirt cheap, right? He helps make it work. People might even jam into Billy Hamilton as well because it just kind of gets difficult. So keep that in mind. There's some expensive price tags on these guys, and you just have to kind of be creative with the way that you're building out that lineup. And I like that they kind of overprice these guys. I think it's a smart way to do it. It's, got that Coors Field vibe, which, listen, when Coors Field is on the slate, I like when they're overpriced. I don't want people to just be able to jam them in with the best pitcher. I think that's just wrong. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. Do you agree, G-Rise? And you're more of a FanDuel guy, but DK-wise, those are some pretty expensive price tags on those guys.
Yeah, for sure. Just hearing you rattle that down, I thought, well, yeah, Andrew Vaughn's really going to be popular today. I think that's going to be the case too on FanDuel. I think he's going to be popular. I think, you're going to have Sanchez is going to be pretty popular because it's going to help with those high, if you go on the high end of pitcher, it's going to help, fill out your lineup. So yeah, with you saying that, and then while I was looking here too, I was thinking, okay, if you're going to have some of those low price guys, who would be pivots? And I'm scrolling down, and good to see Matt Adams' name pop back up at min price there in Pittsburgh. I mean, the big fella there gets a hold of one at min price. He could obviously hit a homer. That wouldn't be a bad pivot if you wanted to pay down instead of a guy like a Sanchez. Yeah, I think Andrew Vaughn's going to be really popular. Abreu, it will be popular on FanDuel, like you mentioned. But I think there's a couple spots you could have that are fairly cheap. So, yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, I think Vaughn's going to be he probably be one of the higher owned players today, I'm assuming.
Oh, for sure. Let's move on over to second base. You guys could, though, please first hit that like, hit that subscribe on the video. Helps us out a ton. Let's dive in, though, and talk about the second base position. We got Madrigal is 4'7". Figured I'd mention that one more time. We got DJ LeMahieu for $100 more against Screwball at 4'8". Like, if I'm spending up, I'd rather go to him, right? I'd rather go some other options. Maybe even like a Whit Merrifield, who's also outfield eligible at 5'2". Like, if we want to attack Shoemaker a little bit, listen, that Twins bullpen's not good. So if they get a hold of him, Whit Merrifield could have himself a day. So there are some decent spend-up options, and there are guys that you can go and spend down on. It is a spot where typically spending down is not bad. And you see Cesar Hernandez is 3.3K. Like 3.3 is a nice price tag on him against a guy like Stripling leading off as well. AP, I'll go to you. How are you allocating your salary at the second base position today?
Yeah, just looking through it, I think this is going to be the spot where I spend down, and I'm looking for a guy who basically is hitting the ball really well right now. And I think he could go a little bit overlooked. Jonathan Schoop, 2.9 on DraftKings. Man, he's hitting the ball really nicely right now. I believe, hit a home run yesterday, hit one in his finale against the Indian series. He hasn't put up a goose egg in a long, long time. 2.9 on DraftKings. Definitely a guy I could go to. Hopefully he gets to this Yankees guy early because obviously their pin is good. But if he does that, then he's going to pay off for me. I think Polanco is going to be popular. I'm going to be off him. He's not been as good against righties. He's been a lot better against lefties. And then since I mentioned BVP, if you want to get different too, another guy, Jose Altuve, he's actually owned Blake Snell. He's got a ton of bombs against him. So I wouldn't hate that at all. I think the Astros are hitting the ball really nicely. They're very patient. The problem with Snell right now, I know I mentioned him as one of my pitchers. That's only if there's going to be issues with this Washington game, which I don't think there is going to be. But Snell has struggled with walks. I wouldn't. And if you watch that Astros game yesterday, they were hitting the ball nicely. They were patient, and they could definitely get to a guy like Snell. So I don't hate Altuve if you want to get contrarian and go with an Astros stack.
All right, G Rising, I'll go to you. We got DJ LeMahieu on FanDuel, right? 3K, and Whit Merrifield's there too. I mean, there are options here that are decent tags. You don't have to go all the way up, and it's not even an expensive position on FanDuel. Like Jose Altuve, he's only 3.4. You can go even cheaper, but I think that mid-tier range on FanDuel seems decent. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not really enamored too much today with second base, but LeMahieu is always obviously decent against lefties. I do like him. Polanco, he's only 2,100. He'll probably be pretty popular today. Nick Madrigal will probably be pretty popular in the 2-hole in them White Sox stacks. I could see a lot of people looking at him, but if you like the Yankees, I wouldn't be afraid of throwing somebody like Tyler Wade in at min price. Just kind of hope the bottom part of that lineup can do something for you against Skubal. And if you get that Tiger bullpen, obviously, they're terrible. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to pay up for somebody like Altuve, I think that would be a pretty low-owned spot. He obviously has high upside. Merrifield's in a really good spot against Shoemaker. Yeah, at this point, I can't say. I think it'd probably be one of the last spots that I probably fill in. Probably be something I'll just, if I like a stack, I'll probably look at a guy like LeMahieu. If I like the Minnesota guys, Polanco probably fit in, or, White Sox. I don't see myself one-off in anybody here, but probably just whatever stack I got, I'll probably throw one of these second basemen in.
One thing I might be able to sell you on a one-off. Can I sell you on a Jonathan Scope one-off, right? He's 2.2K, right? I mean, it's really cheap over there. He might get some ownership because of that, but I figured he's at that tag. Nico Goodrum's at 2.4 at second. I mean, there are these Tigers, and you're a Tigers guy, so
how is G Rising not talking about this guy? I go and like start off talking him up, thinking like we're gonna get G Rising all excited. Then Mangone goes into it. Then nothing from the Tiger guy. What's going on, G Rising?
He's 2,200. I get it. He actually is hitting 346 in the last 7 days. He's like 9 for 26. I'm looking at here, but he has been hitting for the Tigers. I just, I'm
locking him in now.
Like I said,
you don't play him, G Rising. I'm locking.
I probably won't play him because, like I said, whatever
I'm locking him in.
Baseman I fit the stack is who I'm going to probably throw in there, but. I don't see myself winning or losing too much at second base today. So, but Scope definitely has home run potential. I definitely see that he does hit lefties well. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, I mean, you say you can't win or lose position, then just punt it with the 2-2 tag. I mean, we'll see though. I don't know. The only thing is if he has ownership, right? Like you don't want the one-off ownership, but it's a Tiger. Maybe he won't. I don't think I'm too worried about that. But hey, I think on FanDuel, the reason why is like it's not that much more to get up to those 3K guys, and you're probably working more Giolito teams right now than Scherzer teams, right? And if you need the Scherzer team, maybe you'll end up punting it more. But that's kind of why I'm thinking you're thinking that way. Anything else, G-Rise, you want to move on to the next one?
I was just looking at the team total. So the Yankees lead the slate with a 5.0, and then you got Minnesota 4.7, and you got the White Sox 4.5. And, the Tigers, Astros, and Royals are all right there as the next team. So, obviously Vegas agrees that out of all these games, the Tigers are a top 4 or 5 offense. So obviously something happens, Scope's going to be involved. So you're going to get some Yankee bullpen. I don't really like generally attacking the Yankee bullpen, but Vegas seems to think with that team total that they're going to put up some runs today. So It's like mid 60s here in Detroit. It's a pretty nice sunny day, so I could see some runs being put up, but I think it's going to be in the pinstripes.
All right, well, let's move on over to the next one. Let's go to the third base position. And at the top, Moncada, we talked about that price tag. I mean, 6'2", definitely a crazy tag to see on him. I don't see myself spending that one. You got Machado against Greinke, 5'3", obviously has the talent, but third base, it's not as loaded as normal, right? There's some tags on like Bregman. You get against a lefty at 4'6", which seems nice, but that lefty's Blake Snell, right? You get Suarez at 4'1", which feels cheap. It's against Arrieta, though, so you never know what's going to happen. Donaldson, 3'8" against Keller. Seems intriguing, but again, it's not that, it's not big platoon, right? We don't get that lefty for Donaldson. It's still against the righty, but AP, I'll go over to you first. Third base is decent. How are you handling it on this slate?
Yeah, so the one thing I don't want to do is play a chalky Josh Donaldson. That's been an absolute disaster. I've fallen into that trap a couple times, and he just is not paying off. Well, what did he do yesterday? I don't think my stats are uploaded. Did he come through or not? I don't think he did.
Yeah, he did. I mean, against the Royals on the 29th, he got 6.2, which, like, look at his game log. Does he ever bury you? Right? Like, it's
yeah.
I think the one thing that's nice that just stacking wise to do is if the position is a good position where there's other good one-offs you can go to, why are you playing like the Josh Donaldson, right? Like if you're going to do a twin stack, like get like a stud bat in there. Now at second base, I kind of understand it because there's not a lot of studs, right? If there's a guy at second and it's a dusty position, maybe eat the guy within the stack, but I would rather get some other stud in there that's like 2% owned that can hit a bomb instead of playing a chalky Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, I agree with that. Gio Urshela, he's just been, I don't know, he's not been good. Especially against left-handed pitching. I think this is going to be one of those spots for me to where maybe you throw in like a guy like DJ LeMahieu, who you can put in second or third base. Maybe you punt at second base like we talked about, and that's where you spend up to get DJ in there at third base. Outside of that, you could do the same thing with Miguel Sano. The thing about Sano that I like over Donaldson is, he's getting like a 0 or he's hitting a bomb. Like he's literally like going out of the park or, getting you nothing. In tournaments, I don't mind that. Like I'm definitely fine taking on that risk to get a 0. But and then the thing about Yoan Moncada, he's better against he's a platoon guy, right? Is he better against lefties or righties? I always forget.
I prefer him against the righties, not the lefties.
Okay, yeah, I'm not paying 6'2" for him.
Yeah, 6'2" is a lot for Moncada here. G. Ryzen, we'll go to you. What are you doing at the third base position today?
Yeah, I mean, it's either Urshela or Moncada, just really depending if you want Yankees or White Sox. I like those two. And, you guys are talking about Donaldson. He's been so bad lately against righties. I mean, his WOBA is like 214 on the last 50 at-bats against righties. He's just been struggling. Yeah, I like Moncada and Urshela. Moncada he's only 3.5 on FanDuel, so you can squeeze him in. I do like him. It's kind of a weaker spot for me. I mean, if you want to look at somebody like Machado at 3.4 against a Greinke, I mean, you could go there. Chris Bryant's actually got really good numbers against Mlb too, but he's 4,300 on FanDuel. If you look at his BVP, I think when I was looking at stuff, I think he's got a couple homers. He's done pretty well against Bryant, or against Mlb. But I think Moncada is the play on FanDuel, him or Urshela. So nothing really standing out. I'm not interested in Donaldson today though. Yeah. I'll say that.
You know what I might do just for you, G. Ryzen, just to own you. I might go Yamir Candelario right there, 2.8K, third base. I'm gonna punt. I'm considering it too. If we punt with him,
tigers in my face. I see. I think
just two to allow me to double spend up, and I can still get the stacks that I want. I can still get my 3 White Sox guys that I want. I might do it. Those guys. I mean, he's not bad against right-handed pitching. Gets Mike King. He's been hitting the ball better. If he gets me, I mean, 8 could be enough from him.
It's a good pivot. I'd look at that Patrick Wisdom too. On even though that weather isn't all that great there with the Cubs, I think it's kind of neutral actually. But that Patrick Wisdom hit a home run the other day. just came
You
up.
you guys are going to boot me off the show, aren't you? After all this Tigers talk.
No. So I saw somebody in the chat. I think it was Eric Johnson asked, "Is G Rising a homer?" So listen, I'm old enough. I've been gambling so long. You could even ask my kids or anybody in my house. If somebody asks out like an outsider, well, who's his favorite sports teams? They will all tell you whoever he bet on that day. Like, I don't give two shits really about my sports teams. If it gets down to the playoffs, I go to the bar, have a good time. I'm a Michigan fan. It's been rough go the last few years. I do root pretty hard for some Michigan football and some Michigan hockey. I'm definitely a homer there, but I can't stand Ohio State, obviously, but been in the been in the sand for that one for the last few years. But the Tigers, I'm still disappointed they didn't win when we had that stacked, loaded team we had with Max and Price and Scherzer, Verlander. I'm still kind of sore about that, but I'm going to assume though, if the Lions were winning, I'm definitely be probably a homer on that, just because I'm, I just turned 49. I think the Lions have one playoff win in my life. So, that's been kind of rough, but I'm definitely not a homer. Definitely not a homer. I'm more of a realist.
I would say if the Lions do make the playoffs, and you pick them to win, I'll give you a pass, right? Like, I won't be like, I get it. It's kind of like those Knicks fans. They're making some bad takes on the Knicks, saying that they're.
It's like Joey Work. He come on the show the other day. He's all fired up. Knicks are gonna whip your ass. And I turned on the game, and the first thing I thought, Joey's must be drinking already, because they're.
It was brutal. The Joey Work Twitter account was quiet during that game. So we had a 1:00 game in an hour and a half, and I will be watching some Hawks and Knicks. Can't wait to watch that game. Should be a fun time.
God, my account was quiet, right? Too.
Yeah, you were on the Knicks money line.
I was on, yeah. And I couldn't, so if Greg Russo is watching, I was running our MLB and NBA playbook yesterday, so I could not hop on the show. No excuses at all. You're the man. You own me on the Friday show, and I'll see you next Friday, and we'll run it back.
Nice. Should be fun times. Greg Russo always is in on our Run Pure Bet show on our Run.
He
Pure
owned
Bet
me hard, Mangone.
What did he say?
I mean, he said I would be wrong in all my picks that day, and I had 2 or 3, and I went 0-3. So I'll own up to it. I mean,
Greg Russo on the best bet segments. He's out there loving it. That's his favorite segment of the day. So check that out on the Run Pure Bets YouTube channel. It's a good time over there, and we do it almost every day, I'd say. So check that out around 1:00. Talking some basketball, but let's go on over to the shortstop position. And hey, shortstop, who can stop Fernando Tatis right now? All the boomers are upset with Tatis for staring at the ball for too long. He doesn't respect the game. G Rising, do you respect Fernando Tatis, and will he be in your lineups today?
Fernando Tatis is a flat out stud. You know what? I like these, the talk of, let these dudes ham it up, man. Who cares? I think that's one part of baseball I never liked over the last, previous decade or so. It's like, these guys are just babies. Like, man up, like Bauer said. You hit a homer off him, dance around the bases. He don't give two shits. But if he's going to strike you out in a big spot, don't be pissed when he stares you down and thumps his chest and makes some kind of move. But yeah, Tatis is a lot of fun. It seems like every damn time I got 3 big TVs and I watch games, and it seems like every time I look at a Padre game or something, I see him doing his funny step to third. He's rounding the base. I'm like, damn, he's rounding the bases again. But yeah, he is definitely a guy that MLB should be hanging their hat on as a guy they should be marketing the product on, because he's something special. I think that dude's got a chance to be. He definitely looks like a Hall of Famer already in that short career he's had.
Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted by the chat. We were talking about sports teams because everyone gets on me because I'm not a Knicks fan because I'm from New York or whatever. And like, I didn't root for like all the New York teams. I just picked teams because of who I liked as a kid. So I was just telling the people in the chat. So I'm a Packers, Celtics, and Mets fan because of the players I liked as a kid.
Packers, Celtics, and Mets.
Yeah, I liked Favre, I liked Pierce, right? And then I liked Piazza. And you can't be like, oh, I like some people go, oh, you like the Celtics and the Packers, you're a front runner. If that was the case, I'd be a Yankee fan, G Rising. I'd be all in that 90s love of the Jeter era. So I went with Piazza.
We'll give you that. That's true.
Yeah, I could never go with those Yankees. It was too much for me as a kid growing up. I leaned with the Mets and went with Piazza. AP, what are all your teams? You're a Chiefs fan, we all know. What about the other sports for you?
I mean, Chiefs, Royals. And then the NBA. Here's the interesting thing. I don't have a team in the NBA. I literally am a fan of the NBA. I watch almost all the games, all the teams. I love, and this playoffs has been fun outside of the blowouts that we keep seeing. But no, I don't really have an NBA team that I'm always rooting for.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I'll say this, the older I've gotten, like, I don't care about my teams as much too. Like DFS has definitely been like my number one. And I'm kind of like what G Risen said. I feel like, when I'm older, people will say, oh, who do I root for? It's for the teams I probably am backing each day. That's why I love the White Sox right now. And then who knows, in 5 years, I might hate them because they're not the better team and might be rooting, who knows, might be rooting for the Yankees because they're a team I stack up and they crush every day. You never know. But, the shortstop AP, we got to talk to you about shortstop. I was about to move on to the outfield, but what are you doing with Tatis here? Is he a spend up? Probably not. I assume you don't got the salary to do it. So are you spending down at this position?
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 guys tagged in my pool. It's Timmy Anderson. I'm with you. This dude is just, if I'm on core plays and the White Sox are on the board, Tim Anderson is most likely going to be in my build. He's just a stud. He always comes through for me. And it seems like he always comes through to me when I'm on him. And I love him today. If I can get him in there 5-5 against a lefty, he's crushed lefties historically. And then the other guy too, if I'm spending down, I'm not going below anyone or below Mondi 3.6. He is better against lefties. We got on that yesterday. I think all of RPS was on him and he crushed. And it was kind of diluted by the late bomb by Tatis. He's just an absolute stud yesterday as well. But those are kind of my 3 guys I'm looking at. I know boring. I don't have any other crazier takes. I'm kind of looking, I'm not on Torres. His price is nice. I get it against a lefty, but no, for me, it's I'm going to find a way to get Tim Anderson at shortstop. Maybe the way to do it again is punting at second and third base, like G Risen was trying to talk me on with his boys, with his Tiger guys.
Yeah, that could be the way to do it for sure. It's not easy. I do think Mondesi though, like one of those cash guys, like, he was 2.4 or whatever, 2.6 the other day. Like now what is he, right? He's 3.6. He's going to go up. He's going to be like 4 or 5. He'll be 5K at some point too. So you're getting a nice discount on him, like him in this spot. But let's move on over to the outfield then. Speaking of mispriced guys, Giancarlo Stanton only 4.3 against the lefty on DK, 3K on FanDuel. G Risen, I'll go to you first. Is Stanton a lock for you? Because the thing is, if you play like White Sox and Yankees, hey, a lot of people are doing that. So curious to get your take on what you're kind of doing with these Yankees and specifically Giancarlo Stanton, because I do think he's going to have a lot of ownership today.
Yeah, he's only 3K on FanDuel. He's, I mentioned Vaughn might be one of the higher owned players. I think Stanton probably will take that prize now I think about it. Yeah, I mean, against everybody's gonna look at Scooble's record, 1-7, his high ERA, and Stanton's been smashing lefties. So is they both are. So I could see Stanton being pretty high owned today. Chances of him hitting a home run are fairly decent. I would assume if you went on the sports books, he probably would have the lowest odds to hit a homer. But yeah, I mean, you got to play Stanton. But if you're playing from a tournament side, I mean, that's a great place to pivot, right? I mean, there's other spots maybe we could look at. I mean, that's where we're going to have to make our decisions as far as the tournament. It just looks like the offense is going to be focused on a few spots. So obviously to win a tournament, we're either going to have to go lower in some lineups with our stacks. And I'm going to see when I start building teams, if I like that route, or if I'm just going to just completely pick a team like Kansas City and maybe just stack up Kansas City with some Yankees, maybe to try to be different. Yeah, I'm going to take a look, but Stanton's a really definitely a strong play today, but so is Judge. I like Judge. Both of those two are strong plays.
Yeah, and Judge could get more overlooked, right? Mainly because there's other guys that people could spend on, but I still think he's gonna have some ownership. And again, it's about trying to figure out how to navigate with the ownership and build it out throughout your lineup. AP, I'll go over to you. Stanton, again, like 4-3 is really cheap over there for him. I don't know if I have the, the cash lock on him, but I think I'm going to put it on him because he's just that good of a play, right? It's hard to ignore. So what are you doing with a guy like Stanton here in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, in tournaments, this is where, against Scooball, I think we're going to be all rising right out of the gate with Aaron Judge. And I think he's going to be much lower owned over Stanton, who's just mispriced on both sides, 4-3, and then I think even cheaper on FanDuel, like you guys mentioned. So if I could get to Judge at 5.8 and at probably half the ownership, if not more, that's how I would want to play it. Here's what I like though when it comes to the outfield. We got two Twins bats that are under 2.5. I don't think that lineup's out yet, right, Mangone?
Yeah, correct. The Twins lineup. I don't think it's done.
But our boy, I call him Snyder since he has that. Ref Snyder, and then Larnach. Those two guys hitting the ball really good. 2-3 and 2-1. I love going to those cheapies. They've just been getting it done. I'm not worried about Brad Keller at all. And then we got Krylov too. You can play him in the outfield. Those are three. That's kind of how I like to play this twin stack. Just get real cheap in the outfield there. Love those guys, and it'll allow you to get up to maybe one power guy in the outfield. And then Andrew Vaughn. The other thing that's going to push his ownership up is you can play in the outfield. You can play in first base and the outfield. He's an option to kind of complete a White Sox stack for me. Outside of those guys, and then Judge, I mean, I really like Judge today. I think he goes deep once at least. I'm just kind of looking like I'm not seeing a lot that I really like outside of those guys. So I'm probably going to keep it simple. I'm going to have exposure to those cheapies, and then if I spend up, it's going to be Aaron Judge.
All right, G-Ryzen, any other guys in the outfit you want to touch on that are cheap? Obviously, it's a loaded position, but who are some other guys you're looking at?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Andrew Benintendi, anybody lefty against Shoemaker is a good play. I like Jorge Soler too against Shoemaker. But for a great pivot off a guy like Judge on FanDuel, Judge is 36 and Stanton's 3K. But as a pay up, a spend up, Jesse Winker is not in a bad spot either against Arrieta. Arrieta gets smashed up against lefties, and Winker's just been on fire. So if you can get a guy like Winker, one of the better bats in MLB so far this year at the low ownership, I believe you may get him at. I mean, that's always something you might want to think about. I do like him. Kirilloff, I like. Larnach, I like if he makes the lineup there in Minnesota. Tyler Naquin's another guy, a lefty against Arrieta that you might want to look at. But you mentioned Billy Hamilton earlier too in the 9-hole. I know what was a couple weeks ago. I think Big T, didn't he qualify with Hamilton in one of his teams? I remember him taking the victory lap with Hamilton. So
yep, Hamilton was it, man. And he's a good pivot. I think he's a good way to keep Andrew Vaughn off the stack and go Hamilton. I don't think that's a bad way to go.
Agreed. I do like that. So, but yeah, even too, Jock Peterson too, is in the bat and lead off against Molly there. I mean, he's got, potential to hit a bomb for you. So there's obviously a lot of spots. I think Clint Frazier will probably be pretty popular in a lot of people's Yankee stacks today. Yeah, I mean, Tommy Pham's been hitting the ball. There's just so many options here, as we always say, out there in the outfield, for you to fill out your teams. But yeah, as I mentioned, lefties for KC, and I do like the Yankees. I just think they're going to be pretty popular. I'm not quite sure yet how I'm going to be different, but I'm gonna win that FanDuel Q today for my birthday weekend. So that was my birthday present. So I'm gonna have to take it today. So anybody else who's in it, if you're listening, sorry, it's mine today. It's just the way it's gonna work.
There we go. I like that, G-Ryzen.
That's how it's gonna work. It's mine.
Hey, Mangone, real quick. I forgot my guy, Will Myers. He got it done for me yesterday, 2-6. I think he's going to be pretty popular, though, right? No, I mean, no one's really worried about Zach Greinke.
I'm not too worried about him having a lot of ownership. I think he's fine.
Okay, perfect.
But that'll wrap up talking about that. Let's talk about our stacks of the day. If you guys could, though, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. Helps us out a ton. And check out all the content we have over at runpuresports.com. Use the code RPS here 25 to get 25% off. But Let's dive in and talk about our favorite stacks. AP, I'll kick it off to you first.
Yeah, I mean, the one that's just like, White Sox, but I mean, they're going to be chalky, right? I mean, they got to be. So I think
fine. I mean, give more though. Give like your top 3 that you'd be looking at.
Yeah, no. So I'm looking at I'm looking at Tim Anderson, Abreu, and Yerman Mercedes from, and then Andrew Vaughn from the White Sox. But I do like. I'm starting to like this cheap. You don't want to go full stack, but these cheap Tiger guys, Candelario and Scope, right there. I am starting to like those guys. I know it's kind of dusty and dirty, but look, as G Rising said, they got the 3rd or 4th highest team total on the slate. It's not a great slate for hitting. So if those guys can just get on base, maybe Candelario, go deep, we're going to be sitting really good, and it's going to allow you to spend up at pitching. So I like those, and I'm going to keep it real simple. And that's kind of how I'm going to get off, the Yankees. The last one is just the Astros. I think you can play them almost in any matchup right now. They're just hitting the ball so well. And what a matchup against Blake Snell is going to do is lower ownership. So it's kind of like yesterday. We talked. So before the show started, I stacked up the White Sox yesterday, and it was a 7-inning game, and none of their players were over 5% owned because it was a 7-inning game. And so that's a way to get different. Today, you're up against Snell. The Astros are going to be low owned. No one likes to attack good on paper pitchers, but Snell's walking a ton of bats at like a 13% rate this year, and the Astros are patient. So I like that stack in tournaments for sure.
I don't hate that call. I think it's pretty good. G Rising, we'll go over to you. Give me your stacks of the day.
For me, I'm going to go White Sox are my favorite. And then I think I'm going to look at Kansas City as my second favorite. And then I'm going to stay in the same game with Minnesota. And then I'm going to put the Yankees a little down further just because baseball's baseball, right? I think Scooble could shut down the Yankees, and he could, but I'm afraid of the bullpen. But he could give up a few homers. I just don't know if the blow-up spot's there. I think the blow-up potential is better with the Kansas City, Minnesota game and the White Sox than the Tigers today. For some reason, I just got a funny feeling. So I'm going to go there. And I think at this point, I'm starting to convince myself to fade some of these Yankees today for as risky as that is. I just think that's what I'm going to do.
All right. Well, I'll say this. You took the 2 I like the most. I think I say like White Sox, and I think the Royals. I think they're just a team that might get a little overlooked that I could get some exposure to today. So like that call there. And we're kind of on the same page there, G Rising. But let's go to our home run calls of the day, or our plays of the day. AP, I'll go to you first. Give me your play of the day.
Yeah, I think it's G Rising's going to love or hate it, but it's Yamir Candelario, third base. I don't like the position at all, and he has upside. We saw it against the Mariners. We saw he's got. Oh, let me just look real quick. He's got like a 19. He's hit 20 plus 3 or 4 times on the season alone. So he's got upside. He's super cheap. I hate the position. He gets an easy matchup right out of the gate. It will get tough when it gets to the bullpen for sure, but hopefully he can get to Mike King early. And he's 2.8. We don't need a lot from him. And he's going to help make the stacks a little bit easier.
All right, G Rising, we'll go to you. You've been crushing it on these calls. Who do you got here? Give me your play of the day.
Well, first of all, if Candelario hits a home run and AP's call comes through, I'm going to send him his own Tiger hat. I'm going to officially put him on the wagon. We got a spot over here. But I do apologize for our announcers when you start watching the games. They're the second most annoying next to them stinking A's games with them damn drums. I hate them fucking drums. But either way, my play today, I'm going to go to that Kansas City, Minnesota game, and I'm going to go Carlos Santana as the up and smoke play of the day. I really like him today against Shoemaker, and I think he has a chance to maybe get his 2 bombs. So I'm going to go with Carlos Santana.
I love the Santana call. I'm actually staying in KC too, so we're in the same spot. I'm going to go with Whit Merrifield. Again, second base, it's not the greatest position today, and hey, I'll spend it up a little bit and go up to him. Or you can plug him in the outfield too. I'll go with Whit Merrifield. He gets it done. I'm not saying he, hits the home run. Maybe he does the. I forget what DC called it. I don't know if he called it the ghetto home run, but he said then that would get us
poor man's home run.
The poor man's home run. That's what he said. We can't say the other one. We got to say the poor man's home run. So we're going to get the poor man's home run for Whit Merrifield. He'll get that done for us. But that'll wrap it up for us, guys. We got NBA to get finished. We got the MLB stuff to get finalized. We'll be doing that all for you over at runpuresports.com. Again, if you want to sign up now, first time signing up, use that code RPSHeater25, get you 25% off. But we're going to head on out of here and get that all taken care of. For me, Mangone, AP, and G Ryzen. See you guys later.